warm welcome to a new episode of our internal podcast, LC University. Today, Anna, we have guests again. Who are they?
So please, Emma and Graham, could you just briefly say something about you?
Sure, happy to begin, Graham, if that's good for you. So I'm a trained professional executive performance coach, and I trained in London, certified with the ICF. Trained in stress management and in MBSR, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction. And I've been an associate partner with Leadership Choices for 3.5 years, and I'm based in France. So I coach in French and English. There we go. Over to you, Graham.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Emma. So yeah, just picking up, I coach in German and English. I'm a Brit living in Frankfurt. Similar to Emma, I've also got a qualification as an intravision coach, which is when you're using MBSR in a coaching environment to get rid of blockages. Been at Leadership Choices for about 4 years now. I'm also certified executive FiRE practitioner. I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to experience together today.
Yeah, great. We're talking about the Executive FiRE Index. Would any of you just cover broadly what is this? What is this?
Actually, Kat, we are talking about the Executive FiRE model, not the index. We're only talking about the model. The index is the instrument, right? So let's do that question again, Anna, please.
Mm-hmm. So would any of you talk about the Executive FiRE model? What is it?
I'm happy to pick up on that. Executive FiRE model, basically, it's different aspects of how we are perceiving ourselves and how we perceive a different environment. So you can see the various areas here. The personality, that's basically the traits that we get from our genes and things we pick up in childhood. Biography, they could be things that have happened to us during life. Have we dealt with them? Have we not dealt with them? The attitude is, well, where am I? Do I consider myself a creator or something else? Mental agility, how do I deal with new stuff when it arrives and I didn't set up that? Or if we're then looking at energy management, that's all kind of like a first aid kit. What techniques do I have to deal with my emotions? You know, maybe things like sport, music to lift me up, to give me something. And then the mind-body axis, that's kind of things around sleep, thoughts, nutrition, habits I have. And then we're getting to some really cool stuff of authentic relationships. Where are they? What are they? How can I ensure that they're doing me good? And the final point is meaning. And what is the meaning for me in the environment that I'm in? So that's those spheres, we call them. And we look at how can you address those and what do they mean for me in my environment and how am I seeing those areas within my own environment. So how's that for you? Does that help?
That's a pretty brilliant overview. So
He's answered all the questions, hasn't he? I would just, if I could add to that, Anna, that what's important to remember is they are all the kind of known scientifically proven factors and strategies that have a positive influence to help people maintain and improve their resilience, which I think is really important to know.
Yeah, I can see how they pay onto resilience, each of these factors, you know, that you mentioned. So what do you find especially useful about it? Where do you use this in your work?
For me, it's in kind of, there are 3 parts really. There's the one-off debriefs that I do from time to time. Very rarely I use it as part of a coaching program, and I'm looking to do that more. My entrance point really using the FiRE model is maybe a bit different. I come in from a different angle. As I said, I'm based in France, so I work with C-suite and support French leaders to become powerful and confident English communicators. So my point of entry there is kind of from a vocabulary and language entry. Yeah, so I work with these people, developing them in high stake presentations. They work on personal development. We have discussions around those type of issues. So personal development too, And that's where I would talk to them about, hey, how about doing some work on it's actually the FiRE index assessment. So they'll do the questionnaire, and then we'll go and have a look in more detail at the FiRE model. So we get some really great, I don't know, I guess, deeper conversations in English concerning resilience. They get all the vocabulary element, and they can start voicing how they feel. So it's a bit of a different angle. It's not resilience coaching per se.
Right. Since this is for people, coaches, colleagues who come in new to leadership choices, Carsten, and this is a question for you. What is the difference between the FiRE model and the FiRE index that Emma just mentioned?
Okay, so the FiRE model is really a framework where where we put together all the research that we have done and that I've published in numerous books around what actually works, where are there scientific studies that we can leverage, and we package it all together. And over a period of 10 years, that model kind of stabilized. We had an earlier version, but then we noticed that mental agility was simply missing, and we needed to add mental agility into it. So that's really a framework, if you want, and we have workshops that go with it. We have a digital resilience journey that goes with it. And then at one point we said we should be really able to measure it. And Executive FiRE Index is a measurement instrument. It's a personality instrument that measures your resilience, and it measures it based on the FiRE model, but also based on other kind of frameworks, and puts it together. And there's a certification process that goes hand in hand, but it's all built on the FiRE model.
Thank you. So, any other?
Actually, I would like to know how Graham uses what's
Yeah.
the application, Graham, that you use it, and maybe I can add also another perspective later.
Yeah, well, I do use it in situations, and
We can't hear you.
okay, try again. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, I will stop leaning on the cable. Right. So, I do use the FiRE model in coaching, even without the index. How can I use that? Is if you're in a coaching process, sometimes it's a question of finding out, well, what areas can be paid attention to? And it's just a great tool to be able to go through the different spheres to say, okay, where are opportunities for change? Where's opportunity for development? And this is a great structured way to go forward. Now, doing a lot of work in Germany, the Germans do really enjoy a lot of structure. So that gives great advantage there. And what it can also do, if you're maybe in a more sort of Anglo-Saxon, fast-moving environment, it could also be, well, where's that classic thing of where's the low-hanging fruit? What can I be addressing right now? So one, to give structure, but also say, okay, where are we going to be looking at first? And that can be great. Just using the model as such. Actually, when you get the index itself, if you actually go through that process and get the index, you're doing a debrief with someone, you can also get a lot more information about when you're going through those questioning processes with them. So do you see this as it's given in the debrief, or where do you see differences? So there again, you could be looking at how do I see myself? How's the rest of the world see myself? Where are opportunities to develop there? So it's just a great way. And I think, Emma, you hit on it. It's about getting the conversation going and having a clear structure to that, so that both the coach and the coachee can have a clear view on where we're going to give it that effectiveness.
Yeah. Just to bounce off you there, Graham. I mean, when you're talking to executives and leaders in high positions, just look at the subjects, meaning authentic relationships, mind-body axis. They're brilliant topics to address anyway. And when I come in from the language element, there's no kind of HR behind there. It's not, a really official assessment that we're going to do. We're opening up conversations, and I'm giving someone the floor who doesn't necessarily talk about these subjects, and they're talking about it in in a different language. So it really enables us to dig deep and think about what all of these things mean to them and how it can take them forward in terms of their leadership, in terms of how they're managing, in terms of the things they need to be aware of, to make the better managers for better companies and better world.
And I mean, maybe some additional angles, maybe. So I use it a lot in workshops or lectures. I'm also lecturing quite a bit, and we use the executive FiRE index then in classes, in class debriefs, in an MBA setting, for example. So there it's helpful to provide a structure, a thought structure for people to follow that concept and to, you know, make that big concept of resilience a bit more tangible. And also something that is, and we also do these workshops in crisis areas. So we have been working in the R Valley, using this model, helping NGOs to, you know, cope, deal with the stress, the workload, and being always in this field where so much is broken and so much suffering has taken place. And we are now starting to use this in Ukraine, with our foundation, where we are supporting a Ukrainian NGO with 10 coaches in Ukraine, and we are also training them in that model, and they become trainers of the model to, you know, the clients they work with. So it's I think that's another dimension to help make it tangible. And we also do research with this. So we have published our first research on north of 500 managers that have done the Executive FiRE Index, and just to see where are the strong parts in here. So it's also quite mind-blowing, and we are right now starting the next research called Resilience in Times of War, where we are actually doing where we are measuring the resilience of people in Ukraine before we start the coaching and after we have completed the coaching, to see what has changed over the time of events. So the model kind of helps to operationalize resilience, right?
That's incredible. Really, you add a whole dimension to resilience work. I was going to say, we you know, before the war we had Corona, and it's probably also a big factor, you know, using these factors, improving resilience, effectiveness, and even without Corona, I think burnout is on the rise. Emma, you said you work with stress reduction or in stress situation. Do you find how important is that work on resilience or on being able to handle this?
I think it's really key, and I think it's interesting to kind of move from that stress management area that we used to talk about, you know, possibly a long time ago, to something which is maybe more positively framed, and, you know, what is resilience and how can I improve that? Recently, I was working with a CEO, and he was working around stress. He was working around reinforcing his relationship with his teams. It was a new position for him, so I was accompanying him over a year and a half. And halfway through, we actually, you know, we did the FiRE index, and it really helped him get a feel for, well, what is resilience? What are these concepts? How am I doing? And where do I need to do better? Because we can really go into some of the breadcrumbs, as Carsten often says, and says, well, these are concrete things that, you know, I can work on and I can change. And it was great for him to see, this is where I am now. That was really, really useful for him, and his, you know, what were the risks, potential risks, and what he could do more of.
And I would like to pick your brain on an observation that I've been making, especially in the C-suite. A lot of leaders come with their approach to crisis and hardship is like a Stoic tradition, oftentimes. Stoicism, and it can be pretty much boiled down to compartmentalize and endure. So take all the pains, put them in a little box, and endure each and every one of them, right? And that's their approach, and that is what we would define as toughness. It's not resilience. It's actually quite an opposite approach. And we've used the term FiRE also to work with this metaphor. How do you kindle your fire? How much is your inner fire alive? How much is it vibrant? How much does it give you inspiration and give your team inspiration and to drive change, positive change, all of that stuff, right? So the idea is this is not a burnout prevention model. This is a leadership model that has to do with self-leadership, with positive self-leadership, in a way that I am aware of what's going on inside of me. I'm aware of the different spheres of resilience, and I'm able to say, oh, I think I need a walk in the forest, or I think I need to call a friend. I think I need to ground myself, or I need to do something to be the best version of myself, to be in the best possible leader I can be. That's really the idea behind it. That very much towards Emma, what you say, this positive connotation, positive spirit. I wonder, Graham, Emma, do you observe similar things, that there's a confusion in leaders around resilience?
I think there may be a lot of traditions around resilience. How do you deal with resilience in terms of what is the usual response? And yes, being tough, let's get our noses to the grindstone. There's all those kind of lovely expressions we hear around there. And I think there's also a part of that is we'll get through the situation, then it's finished, and then we don't do anything else. We sit and wait for the next catastrophe. Whereas, or the next, we would call it in the VUCA environment, volatility, uncertainty, increasing complexity, it's no longer clear, uncertainty. And that's going to be coming again and again. And resilience is not a one-time event. It's a continuum. And what I quite often find is that, okay, we've got through the tough situation, and now we've got a bit of slack. What do I do in that slack period? And what do I do actively for myself? And what's fascinating to happen there is just once there's an awareness in the leadership, in the leaders within an organization about the meaning of a FiRE model, about how can I deal with that at an individual basis, all of a sudden, their leadership changes too. They start thinking, okay, we've got a bit of slack in the organization. What can we do now for organizational resilience? And those are some of those thoughts that come in, I'm going to say almost as a bonus, that can be of even more value to the organization. And it's those elements. It's setting up an organizational culture of resilience. That means we're not quite sure when the next change is going to happen, the next COVID, the next Ukraine, the next global supply chain, whatever. But one thing we do know, it is going to happen. And how can we be set up and prepared for myself personally and the organization?
So this is not only the pure individual level, it is also a team level, where if you have a leadership team, it can be like a language, right? Like it can be like a language to converse in a way, and everybody knows what the other person means. Am I right?
Yeah, and I think the toughness element is kind of wearing thin now, isn't it? I think there's a lot of fatigue, and leaders are kind of saying, okay, well, I'm getting through this, and makes me smile sometimes when they score very high on the raw resilience part, and then when you dig into it and they have a real understanding of, oh, actually, yeah, I might not be quite so empathetic as I could be with my team members who don't deal with things as I do, and that opens up a whole nother conversation for them and a realization. It's just great self-awareness. I mean, I don't know what you think, guys, but as far as I'm concerned, leadership, it's about knowing yourself first.
Yeah, nice. I think it's brilliant breaking it up a little bit, because for most people, especially in German-speaking countries, resilience is, the word is like a black box. It means something positive, but if you ask, people have strange definitions around it.
Yeah.
And this toughness is maybe one of them, which is actually not resilience at all, isn't it? And so it breaks it up. into the different parts, so it doesn't become about resilience. You know, it's like many of the images, Carsten, you gave, you know, walk out in the, you know, hug a tree, you know, or you more empathy or more self-leadership, that is not about resilience. That is actually the work, which is an invitation here in it. So question to you, what would you think is, you know, Graham, you said the low-hanging fruit. What is, you know, maybe your favorite bit about the FiRE model that you use often, or like an easy access to some of these concepts?
I think I might launch into that one, if I may. If you were to look at within the FiRE model attitude, we were just talking about toughness. Well, what we're seeing social change. The style of management and leadership within companies is indeed changing. Why? Because attitudes are changing, but also the demography is also changing. So the number of people coming in there. And one of the key low-hanging fruits is having permission for me as a leader to do something for myself. Not in a selfish way, but permission to look at my relationships, permission to look at meaning, to think about how am I dealing with my mind and body. Do I have quick fixes that I can address? How am I dealing with change? And it's that permission often that has been missing, because there's been an attitude of toughness. And then I can actually go and look at what options are fitting for me. And some of them are as simple as going for a walk. Some of them are as simple as changing how I deal with events that come up. And that's an attitude of mind. And they can be very fast moving indeed.
Permission is a big thing these days. You know, a lot of subconscious beliefs around not being permitted to look at oneself. That's well put. Thank you.
I think I go into that. I might not even have permission to think I'm allowed to look after my body, for example. It may not be in my world of thought, and that's a worthwhile permission to have, just as one example.
And maybe one addition, Emma, or do you want to go first?
Go for it.
So I think another dimension that is like one level deeper is next to this model, we work with another model that is called traits, habits, and state. And what you see here in this model, in the FiRE model, is traits and habits. You see the traits mostly in personality, and everything else is more or less habits. So something that you can do and something that you have to do. So meaning there is an element of self-awareness in resilience, and that has a lot to do with know thyself, know my own personality, my trigger points, my, how I react to criticism, how do I react to people in general, how do I react to change, just knowing and understanding myself and having empathy for myself. But then also understanding the 7 spheres of habits above, that is something that I can do. So we, in our programs, in our workshops, in our coachings, we break it down to a level that everything here is an activity, right? So an activity in attitude can be, so what's the one thing I can change right now to make the situation more bearable for me and to feel that I'm more in control of things? One little step, one little step. Or mind-body axis, what is one thing that I can do right now to recharge my battery by 10%, right? So, and all of that is doable. None of that is impossible. You don't need to have a Zen state or something. You can do it every time, and every time it gets better. Sometimes it takes some time, sometimes you need to do more, but everybody can learn it. Everybody can apply it. So I think that's also a very, very important thing, that it all, at the end of the day, it all is boiled down to resilience is something that we can do, or resilient behaviors is something that we can do and have to do.
That's really practical. So it's not a black box, a thing that I need to apply the whole model in order to get something out. I can start wherever I am with the next right steps, and something that is doable in small steps, and create habits. That's excellent. Yeah. Yeah, Emma.
So what do I love about it? I love everything about it. I mean, Carsten knows this. I adore this model because what I love about it is it's really complete. So you've got, you know, all the raw resilience stuff, and our clients get to understand what that means. That, you know, they want to score high on that. They don't always. And then you've got, you know, my life satisfaction as well, the states. So that's a picture which can vary, which varies the most. And we get to look at different elements of their life there, their profession, meaning, how they are physically with their body, their relations with their families. So that's just a picture in time. And then, as Carsten said, we get to work on all the things that we can change. So it's really, really a really comprehensive model that we come at all different angles. We get a wonderful picture, and we can do concrete things with people to help them improve their resilience. And and maybe I'm going a bit too far here, but it's common sense. It's easy to understand. Yes, it's great to have a practitioner to guide you through it, but it makes sense. It's really accessible.
Brilliant, thank you. So if I imagine somebody comes new to Leadership Choices, a colleague, and they want to know more about either the model or about resilience or about the certification, where would they go? What's on offer? You already said it provides a structure if I just want to work with clients in a workshop like that. But there's also, I can get certified. Carsten, I think you wrote a whole book about resilience and some white papers on the FiRE model. So what's on offer? How would I go and say either this is something for me, I'm really interested, or that might actually be something for a client of mine?
You guys want to talk about the resilience community, maybe?
The fantastic resilience community. What do you think about it? Which both Emma and I are members of. That's a great place if you want to go in and just find out more about resilience, what's happening there, how we're moving forward, and have a discussion with colleagues who are in that environment. Anything you'd like to say about it, Emma?
Yeah, I mean, we're currently, just to give you an idea, you don't have to come in being an expert, just interested in the subject. And we're currently going through the different parts of the spheres to talk about what they mean to us and how we work with each part of them. And then we can kind of share different tools and stuff. So it's a really nice space to share and to talk about resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's also a FiRE practitioners community, Carsten.
Right.
So you can
So
say
Yeah.
about
thank
that.
you. Thank you for asking that question, Graham. I'm so thankful. So we do regular certifications for the Executive FiRE Index, which is the resilience instrument, the questionnaire. And it's a workshop that consists of 3 half days, which is really not much. And then you actually need practice afterwards. And to keep this alive, we have the great community, but there's also a community of practitioners, certified EFI, Executive FiRE Index practitioners, which consists of clients, partners, LC colleagues, and they come together and we exchange on what's new, what are new development, what is, you know, latest research, latest white papers, latest perks, or, you know, whatever there might be. And yeah, so that's another way to grind your teeth into the subject.
Excellent, thank you. So what we can do is provide some of the links in the recording on the YouTube links for those interested. So any more things about the FiRE model or the FiRE index from you guys?
Maybe in terms of links, the only thing, that's the beauty, it all looks complicated in Leadership Choices, and it is, but there are 2 easy access. One is you just want to be in the LC social WhatsApp group, because there every community meeting is announced. So you know when it's happening, and you know who the people behind it is, because you see who wrote the post, so you can get in touch. And the other thing that you want to bookmark is the Eventbrite page, LC University. This is where all the community meetings are, so that you can plan ahead and see if you want to join. So that's the 2 links that you need. Everything else you can derive from there. So you don't need to feel overwhelmed or not more than necessary.
I would add to that, don't believe anything we've said today. Come and try the FiRE indexed questionnaire yourself, because you'll get a great feel of what it's about, what it means to you, and how it can help you improve your resilience as well.
Excellent. Graham, any last words from you?
Take your shoes and socks off and put your toes in the water, just as Emma said that. Go and try it out. You'll find it's nice and warm and comforting.
Oh, that's your extra piece of resilience for today. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.